Presence, a uniquely haunting ghost story from Steven Soderbergh. And this movie is a slow burn. Know that going in when you go in to watch this movie, Presence. What is it about? It's about a family that move into a new house that has a presence in it. It's an experimental film. Know that going in. So if you've seen movies like Here from last year, where it's like Tom Hanks is in this one static shot, it's like that kind of a deal, right? It's kind of like, well, what do you mean experimental? Well, it's just one static shot and they try to tell this narrative. A little bit like how Megalopolis wasn't for everybody. It was kind of like Francis Ford Coppola wanted to make this movie a passion project of his. I'm guessing that Presence is one of those movies for Steven Soderbergh. I don't care if it was shot with an iPhone. This movie is like in a violent nature. It's all from the Presence's perspective. And in that, people will find that this movie can be fairly boring because you're just watching sequences of like, oh, we're on the bedroom now. You see somebody walk in to the window. That's it. And that's going to rub people the wrong way. A lot of ways. Because this is one of those movies that you have to go in knowing that it's an experimental film, that it's not a traditional narrative. Because if you go into this movie cold and you don't know what it's about, you will be struggling to find a narrative in here, right? It'd be like, guys, should I stay in the theater for this one? I don't know. Going to the IMDb, the bright side is that it's only an hour and 24 minutes, and the cast is good. A family becomes convinced they are not alone after moving into their new home in the suburbs. And as I said, the cast is the standout here. Lucy Liu is the mother. Chris Sullivan, the father. I wanted to take a look at his work because he is a standout here. Eddie Mayday. Kalina Lang, sorry if I'm butchering that, is pretty much the main character. You see it from her perspective. You follow her story arc the most. And there are parts in this where the family dynamic works great. And it's because of this cast, Lucy Liu, Chris Sullivan, Kalina Lang, and Eddie Mayday, that, he's like a high school jock type and he's worried about his popularity kind of thing. So there is some family dynamics in there where the mother prefers the son and stuff like that and doesn't really care about the daughter. Like there's stuff in there that is like dramatically you can latch onto, but it takes time to get to it. And I don't know, as I said, if people are going to be able to stay with it because it loses you at times. It's kind of like we're just seeing these sequences and there's no real traditional structure to the film where it's like, okay, this is the first act, we know the problem, and then the main story starts. It's maybe a little bit too non-linear. It doesn't jump back in the past or anything like that, but it's told in these fragments, and that's going to rub people a long way. If you're going into this movie Presence looking for a horror movie where it's going to be kind of like maybe some jump scares, it's not that. It's not a scary movie. As I said, it's more of an experimental film. And when George Lucas said that he wanted to go off and make movies after Star Wars that would be weird and stuff like that. This is my example, Megalopolis, right? You expected that kind of thing. Very abstract pieces, experimental in nature, and that's what Presence is for Soderbergh. I was this close towards the third, the finale of the third act, where I was like, guys, I've been sleeping on this movie. This is probably the best movie in January, but it didn't stick the landing. It didn't stick the landing for me, and it just didn't come around cohesively where it felt like we were leaving some storylines with the family dynamic behind And again, that's another strike that people will find be like, well, then what was the point of me sitting here and watching this in the first place? And for me, my get from this was that I'm watching something experimental. It's a curiosity, artsy piece. I see what you're trying to do. I appreciate it. I don't think it's a theatrical experience. I think it's more of a streaming service when this comes out. So Neon, it's competent. It's competent, but I'm 100% with it's not going to be for everybody. So with that being said, let's go over to my score sheet. Acting, directing, story out of a possible 2 points each. Cinematography and score 1 point each. Acting, there's no big thespian piece in here, but I liked Lucy Liu. I think this is probably some of her best work. And then it's the daughter and the son that, actually the father, like they're all good performance. Nothing real standout here that makes you go, you got to check out that scene. Maybe the father has a few of those scenes because he sees it all crumbling apart and he's doing his best to try to get the family together. Soderbergh, 1.5. Story, it's a premise. It's a premise. And this is a short film at best, I think, guys. And they did a good job, I think, with the hour and 20 minutes, but you could have condensed it maybe. And as I said, it felt like there were for a few storylines that were left hanging, especially between the mother and father. There's a conversation the father has midway through the film, and it's like, oh, we're going down a really dark path here. And then it's just kind of like, it's left behind. Cinematography, it's experimental, right? It's like one of those movies where it's like, oh, are we going to stay through this shot through the entire film? Is it not going to cut? And it does, but it's kind of like, I'll give the thumbs up to it reluctantly for that. The score is barely noticeable. So I'm sitting at 5.5 right now for the score, and I figure that's about where I feel like it should be. Let's go over to the Rotten Tomatoes and take a look. 88% by critics, 55% by the audience. And that almost pretty much proves what I'm trying to tell you guys here, where it does have an idea in there that does have merit, but it's not an easy sell to people. So I would totally expect people to buy their tickets. Oh, this is a horror movie about a ghost. Not many scares. It does take a weird twist towards the end, though, that I appreciated. But when you're like, oh, I'm a horror fan, I want to go in here and watch something horrific, and you don't get that in this, it's going to be like a major letdown. And that's what I'm guessing accounts for this discrepancy between the critics and the audience. Let's see if we can substantiate that by taking a look at some of the snapshot reviews. Mark Kermode. It's an interesting genre experiment. Did you like it? Yes, he did. Soderbergh remains the consummate tactician. He might be playing with POV, very much POV shots through the entire, that's all it is. But there's nothing prankish about his approach, only purposeful. Audience members, pay attention and you'll enjoy it. Was terribly slow, Nicole says. I love the actors, but the preview was misleading. It was from the presence POV, so it was nauseating to watch. The plot line itself was good, but unfortunately, probably just misses, right? Chris Sullivan. I want to take a look at his work. Julia Fox. Who the heck was Julia Fox? Wait a minute. Cece. I don't even know what the heck Cece was. Huh. Did I miss a scene or something in the movie? I don't think so. West Mulholland was also in this movie. He did a good job. Dark Harvest, Great Divide, Animal Kingdom. So we're not in a whole bunch of stuff, but keep an eye out for this guy. Yeah, he did a good job. Chris Sullivan is the father, and he was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Taserface, Stranger Things, Benny Hammond, 2 episodes. Okay, the Nick. Not a whole lot of stuff, but he did a really good job too. And I'll keep my eye out for him. And as I said, the younger lady here, I'm sorry if I really butchered her name. I'm known for doing that, so I'll have to own that one. Kalina Liang, Bad Genius Foundation. Good job. And looking forward to that. Now, who's this Julia Fox? Who is she in the movie? I don't recognize her face at all. Uncut Gems, the trainer. Yeah. Oh, was she the? She was the broker. Okay, very small part. Very, very small. Here's the house. I'll never see you again. Okay. Yeah. It's an interesting film. It's an interesting watch. I'd say that it's worth it if you're a movie fan. If you're a Soderbergh fan, Lucy Liu fan, you're going to want to check it out. Let's go over to my score sheet and round out my score. Finally, for the watchability factor, based on those, like if you're a fan of Soderbergh and Lucy Liu, as I said, it's an interesting premise. I don't know if it's all that well executed. 6.5. Like, would I watch it again? Like if you're a film fan and you want to know how films are made and you want ideas, you want inspiration on how to make a smaller, lower budget film, take a page out of this one. Because you just got a static house kind of thing, actors, you set the camera up on a swivel and you use a wide angle lens. Well, they're saying that maybe it was filmed with an iPhone, but then you look at the rig for the iPhone and it's got this big, huge, long lens on it. It's like, do you really need to film it on? Is that really filming it on the iPhone? I filmed it on my phone, but then you got a huge professional lens like rigged up to it, and it's like, no, guys, no. 6.5 out of 10. Could I get better? No, I don't know. I can't. 6.5 out of 10 for Presence, and that's about just in between what the critics were in. It's more than the audience, but it has value. It could be a 7 out of 10, maybe, for Presence, but is it enough for you to be intrigued? Wait for a streaming, and I would say it's not going to be one where you'd be like, ugh. Now that you know that it's an experimental film, now that you know that you're going to be expecting a slow burn, it's not scary, and it's got an eeriness to it, for sure, and Soderbergh did a good job with that. So let me know what you thought about Presence in the comments below, and we will talk about it. You're watching Mirror Domains.